you have to be able to be fluid enough to make changes in the moment when something isn't working or isn't making sense, or not necessarily in the moment you have to catch it. You can assess it after the fact and do the post-mortem.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It second half of the How Did These Tours Come to Be? And Brad is back as my guest. So this is a different kind of cadence, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, we're shaking things up a little bit.
So we're not answering any of your questions. We're not going to talk about the Be It action items we shared with you.
But we are going to talk about that amazing guest you had on this week's episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're talking about you, Brad.
It was me.
And also, if you want to come to the tours, opc.me/tour, no matter when you hear this, you will always be able to see what upcoming tour there is, or you'll get on a wait list for the next one to come out. But basically, we do 2 tours a year. So we left off with how we started talking with Balanced Body about our tours.
Yeah. So I remember we were at a POT, I think.
In Monterey. In 2020?
No, I think it was before that. I think it was in Chicago even before that.
Well, there was a Chicago one that I talked to and I planted the seed that was in 2019.
Yeah, but that's the one I was talking about. So we started talking to Balanced Body years prior to their participation. And I remember the conversation with their team. I just remember looking at their operation and literally watching them back a tractor trailer up to the convention center and commenting and going, wow, you guys have tractor trailers. And the response was, we have 3. I was like, you have 3 tractor trailers? And they're like, yeah, look, where do you think all these reformers are going to go? And they were loading case after case after case of things into the thing. And I was like, wow, it's so much work for you guys to go on the road. And they said, yeah, for us to put on these POTs, it is a massive enterprise to do. Many, many, many people, lots and lots of money. It's so much coordination, so much effort, and I jokingly said, well, I think we can help you guys out with that. And that didn't really come to anything. But in my mind, I was like, we could do it for half,
Yeah.
And then we got the van. And then we were talking with Ken.
What happened is they changed on the Contrology. They changed how you can do the wheels, the side wheels, how you can tighten them or not tighten them. And they changed it to make it easier for people. And so I said, well, we're driving to the POT Monterey anyways, because we're going to have a booth there as well. Because we had the booth in the October one, which is when you kind of planted that seed.
Yeah. And for us, it was only 8 hours. At this point, we've driven across the country multiple times. We're like, we'll just drive.
I said, I'll bring my reformer. And we weren't even staying at the hotel where the event was. We were just down the street just because of I needed a really big room.
Yeah. You had to do a weekend workshop thing.
Yeah. I had to host a weekend event. And so we needed a big room. And so I had my assistant at the time, literally scoping pictures of rooms. And we're like, there's no way we can make this room work because the bed's right there. Da-da. So we had to stay about 1.5 miles away from the venue. And so Ken Ubered over.
Ken is the owner of Balanced Body.
Yeah. So get this. Ken Ubered over to our hotel during setup of his humongous convention to change the little silver situation that goes on the back of my carriage to change the wheels out. So
he brought his wrenches.
Just brought a wrench, brought a credit card. So we had also brought our espresso machine. Brad made him an espresso. And so this is what's
we're
so
just
amazing.
chilling out, and he's working on this reformer. We're just chit-chatting.
And then Brad's like, oh man, I'll take you back to the venue.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'll grab an Uber. I was like, no, you will not grab an Uber. I will drive you, and of course, so I wanted him to see the van.
Yeah. So he got in the van. He had to see how big the van was. He had just seen that we brought the reformer.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, we brought the reformer. But he said to me, oh my gosh, I always wanted one of these when I was in my 20s. I always just wanted to drive around the country. And it's so cool that you guys are doing this. And that's when I got a chance to say, well, this is, we do go on tour and we're already taking a reformer with us so that we can show off the contrology reformer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he was like, wow. And so, I didn't like full blown pitch him in that moment, but it was like one major seed planted because he could see it, feel it, touch it, understand it in a way that wasn't us trying to pitch the vision. He could be in the vision.
Yeah. So they actually signed on with us for our first ever summer tour. And so we got to do the West Coast because we'd only ever done the East Coast. And the middle, we'd never done the West Coast before. We'd pulled them. We want to do a West Coast tour. So we actually did our first West Coast tour. It wasn't very long. It was kind of like a short and sweet thing. I know we did Las Vegas. We did Los Angeles.
Well, somewhere in there, we missed the 2022 winter tour, but 2020.
Oh, yeah, we did the 22. We did a 22. You're right. We did do a 2022 winter tour, and that got bigger, got back up to the size.
Yeah, that was like 8 or 9. So we had
Yeah.
Cleveland, St. Louis, Dallas, Houston, Nashville, Atlanta, Greensboro. Yeah. Greensboro. So
That one was really great, actually, because we got back up to our 2019 numbers. And so we were able to say, okay, so we've had 4 tours. And so we're able to show them like, look, now that COVID allows us to do this, look at these 9 cities. What if we did our biggest tour ever, which was the West Coast tour. We didn't do Los Angeles. We did Las Vegas. Did we even do Las Vegas? I know we did Riverside.
For the summer tour?
Yeah, we did Redlands,
Long Beach, Bakersfield, Central Valley, Hanford, Fresno.
Yeah, it was like near Fresno.
Right?
Modesto. You guys, we were hitting some of those great I-5 cities.
So that's 5.
Yeah.
Then we did Fairfield.
Yes, and we did Sacramento.
Sac.
And then we did a tour of Balanced Body. Even though we'd done it before with Ken, we did a tour so that our OPC members could see how it's all done. It was so fun. They do amazing work at Balanced Body, just being great on the environment. Then we did Bend, Oregon. Portland. That was so fun too. Seattle. And then Spokane. And then we dropped down, had a couple days off in Idaho. And then we got all the way down to St. George, Utah.
So we did 11 stops.
11 stops. So it was our biggest one. And it was so fun. And we got to see how hot it could get. So then the van got a fan.
Yeah, we also did that whole tour in 2 weeks. It was like 16 days.
Mm-hmm. It was really...
and we zipped through 11 stops in 16 days.
It was, there was a heat wave, so I was okay with zipping through. Then, because of that went so well and Balanced Body was so great with that, then they joined us for our winter tour in 2023. And then we really able to But
that's when I think things really blew up.
Yeah. I don't think it was our biggest tour for sure. It beat the 11 cities, but it wasn't our biggest. Then last year, you want to go through them?
Sure. We did Vegas, St. George, Denver, Lawrence, Kansas, St. Louis, Missouri, Cleveland, Ohio, Saratoga Springs. That was a private event. Boston, then Providence, private event. Brooklyn, we had to cancel New York City because nobody was in town. Hershey, Pennsylvania, Greensboro, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Miami, Sarasota. So that's the first time we did the inside of Florida. Then Austin, Dallas, Albuquerque, Sedona. So by far, this was the largest. Went up to 19 cities.
Yeah. Then we did a summer tour with the Midwest because if you've noticed, we've been skipping Chicago for a while. So we have been alternating the West Coast with the Midwest. And so this is how we decided okay, so you need to know after every single one of these tours, we reflect about what went well, what cities went well, would we go back, how the people like it, how much effort was it, how great was the host, if we love the host, obviously it's amazing for us to want to go there. If the host works really, really hard, then of course we want to continue to work with them and support them. But we also discovered that my voice, as I get older, my voice can only do...
I don't think it's just because you're getting older. We had you working 9 days in a row.
Yeah.
Literally teaching class 9 days in a row. And by the 9th day, you were fried.
And some of these studios, their acoustics...
Not a day older than 29, love.
Thanks, baby. Some of these studios, the acoustics are not awesome for that because you have to get your voice to carry and all these things. And so... At any rate, you'd think, well, Lesley, don't you teach all day? No, I don't. No, I don't. In fact, when I taught...
You do talk most of the time, but this is different than trying to yell in a warehouse.
Yeah, and get people's attention in a warehouse for sure. Some of them have music going on, the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, so the summer tour was only 13 stops, but we did it in 16 days.
Yes.
We were flying through.
We made changes that we can only do max 6 days in a row before day off.
Was
5 is more ideal.
This was a major change for us where it's all right, we have to be very intentional about the breaks that we're putting in because one of the things Lesley mentioned at the beginning was how does she maintain her consistency? How does she maintain her, how do you do that stuff?
So these tours, because I don't want to do them because it's a job. We actually truly enjoy doing the tours. We have so much fun. I mean, I get to hug hundreds of people. And it's so great. And it really actually makes me go, oh, I want to teach all the time. And then I'm actually like, no, actually, I really love my life. But I love that I get to see so many of you that I only see on like, I only get to read words on the internet. I get to see you in person. I get to touch you and like you're 3-dimensional and all the things. We really love doing it. We also want to be able to be as present as possible. And so after every tour, we always reflect back. Did we have enough time in that city? Do we have enough time to do this? You guys, I must work out. So I do not teach all these people Pilates and then I don't get workouts in. And so every schedule, we have to make sure that 5 days a week, I have time at a gym. I have time to move before I'm teaching. Giving me space to go to the gym at 11 p.m. at night is not space to work out. Also, I have to make sure that I get to have 7 hours of sleep. Yeah. Very, very important. So all the things that I preach about prioritizing myself first, those things happen on tour.
People always ask us, how do you maintain your routine when you're completely jacking up your routine?
Yeah. Well, you can speak to this. You guys use a really cool app that plans out everything because he'll kind of drive late at night while I'm sleeping so I can go to bed early and I'll wake up and it will say like, you're working out from this time to this time. Then you're driving here to get coffee and then you're driving here to do this thing. And so that I have time to do my thing for myself while you're sleeping.
Yeah. So we take shifts because just the nature of our brains and our bodies. I usually stay up late. Lesley usually gets up early, especially when it was the COVID trip. That was crazy. Like the van almost never turned off. We just kept
so nervous
going.
about
I would
touching
sleep,
anything.
You would drive, and while you were sleeping, I would drive, and we'd just go.
That was
so
very
we could blast
different. That was also just like a very different time in the world. You were like afraid. We still wondered if you got COVID from gas station handles.
From touching the gas.
And we were about to see people at Christmas, and we had to do like a 3-day hangout at your parents' house. So very different.
The point is that we were overlapping on purpose. While one was sleeping, the other was driving. Now it's a little less. The maximum amount of driving that we're trying to do in a day is like no more than 8 hours, and that's still a lot. So we've started to slow it down, which has since then made the tour longer. But it makes it a lot more enjoyable.
We also get to like see places now and we have the dogs. Well, now we just have one dog. We should tell them funny stories about the dogs before we wrap this episode up. But we like make sure that they get walks and we take them through really beautiful habitat preservations that allow for dog walking. We get to see some really cool things.
We stopped in Kansas by like one of those big tank memorials and threw the ball. I mean, like this, all these things that we do. Then the Winter Tour 2024 was our biggest. With the support of Balanced Body, and we had some other sponsors too. Yeah, we had 21 locations, 21 stops. But in order to meet these new requirements of no more than 6 days in a row of teaching, how do we drive 8 hours or less a day? How do we make sure that we've got time to do some workouts? By the way, we're interested in seeing White Sands National Park on this trip. Can we do that? Like stuff like that. How do we work all that in? Well, it ended up making the trip 35 days. But we actually went the longest. We drove over 8,000 miles.
Yeah. We got to go to some great places. And also, if you're like, this sounds so amazing, guys, everything works out for you. Just so you know, pretty much every tour, there was a dud city.
Oh, yeah. We had to cancel. It would have been 22 cities on the Winter Tour. And we unfortunately had to pull one because we just had no one participating.
And talk about like the last episode, that Perseverance. We paid people to scour emails and Instagram handles from a 3-hour drive away to be like, okay, well, what if we get this people from this state to come in? What if this people from this state come in? They could do with this.
I mean, I would drive and just call.
Literally.
I would call studio after studio after studio.
And we had people say, and there was a lovely host, and she's like, no, people are just last minute. We're like, girl, it's 48 hours before. This is as last minute as no, we're not driving up there. So again, we don't take it personally. It sucks. We always do reflect, like, what could we have done better? Yeah. Was it the time of day? We've had cities that have done really, really well 2 years in a row and then have a dud year. And we're like, oh, what happened there? And it's like, oh, so this next winter tour, we're flipping 2 cities because we're like, oh, we did them before Christmas and then after Christmas. And this year we switched that and that didn't go well for either one of them. Sure. So you start to learn the seasons of things and you have to know that it's not personal, but the reflecting after every tour really helps us make each tour even better. And we're 5 weeks away from our 8th tour and it's going to be epic. It's going to be amazing.
This tour is going to be a little bit more time condensed. So we're a little over 3 weeks. But we're doing almost 19 stops.
Yeah.
So that's intense.
3 of them include Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing our best here to do our first international tour. I mean, we are going. So
we're going, just so you know, these tours also are a huge investment. There's a reason why we have a sponsor with Balanced Body. They really help us actually be on the road for that long, because when you're on the road for that many weeks, you're having 3+ meals a day on the road. All of that adds up money.
Yep.
The gas, depending on what state you're in, is insane, right? So there's that. We try not to use a hotel at this point because we have the van.
Yeah.
The investment we've made in the van, to make it so we can live in, all of that kind of costs money. And so there are things that have failed on tours where like those stops that haven't made money or haven't had been canceled, but having a sponsor that allows us to like really be on the road for that long so that we can do these stops and we can see all of you. But to get to Canada, we're investing thousands of dollars to make it happen.
Yeah. I had to pay an attorney to help us with paperwork.
It's
like,
because you can't just work wherever you want to work.
Yeah.
Can't just do that.
Yeah.
So we're super, super excited to be one of the first people that actually do a big Pilates event. There have been other Pilates events in Canada. I don't want to discount those ones that are happening in Balanced Bodies.
Well, no, it's not that. It's like the thing that's exciting about this is that it'll be our first international tour.
Yes. I know. People are like, when are you going to do a European tour? So I used to think it was like 2 years away. After what we're doing for Canada, you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a 5-year plan because
we're thinking about how could we do this, in Europe and Australia, because like eventually for us, that's the vision. We want to go see those places. We want to spend the time.
I think
for us to drive around Australia, to do it right, it's going to take us 5 to 6 weeks of driving.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot.
And we're going to have to rent a van there. We're certainly not going to be able to take one. I was thinking we'll put some magnets on it, but also there are actual laws about what we can do. And we don't do these things quietly. So if you live in Australia or Europe and you want us to do tours there, you should definitely reach out. We keep a list of people who want to host.
Love to have you host us.
And we do need hosts. These tours, they happen when there's hosts, but also, and that goes for anyone in the States as well. You can actually put your place on there. But also, we're going to need legal help because we're talking like immigration attorney help, which is not cheap, by the way, very expensive, so that we can actually do these things. So what we thought would be like in 2 years, I'm realizing is probably a few years in the making, but we want to make this happen. We want to be part of it. And that's why we're actually telling you the behind the scenes on how these tours work. So opc.me/tour is where you go for tickets, but opc.me/host is where you go to apply to be a host. Okay. So funny stories about the dogs. First of all, we used to do these tours with 3 dogs.
3.
And then Gaia's last tour was Summer Tour 2024.
Well, her first last tour
was Winter 2022.
I think was it winter?
Oh, yeah. Winter Tour 2022.
It was winter 22. You're right.
And then her first last tour was summer 2023. Then her second last tour was winter 2023. And then
her actual last tour was
you guys should not want to go. The van was loaded up. The boys were in it. Because the boys, once we start putting stuff up to load in, they are like in the van.
Yeah, they do not want to be left behind. So they're sitting in the van watching us.
It gets hot as fuck outside. And they're like, no, I need to be in the van. I'm like, okay, but the doors are wide open. You can't be in the van. And they're freaking out. They're just, very nervous. And so we had the whole van loaded up. The boys are in the van. We go, Gaia. And she comes and looks at the door.
She comes out onto the front porch.
She looks at the van.
Stares at us.
And she goes back inside.
Turns around and goes back in the house. She's like,
And we forced her to go on this tour. And she was at this point sleeping 20 hours a day. Anyways, she was having a hard time with her back legs. We're carrying her everywhere, which we'd been doing the last 2 tours.
Lift her in and out of the van.
And then, okay, so on her final last tour, she had an accident in the bed. And that was really unfortunate because we're on the road. Now we got a dog, but that has to get washed. We don't always have time for a wash and I don't know what you call this, like a fluff and fold. So I'm in Kansas City teaching a class. And while I'm teaching, Brad leaves to go bathe her. So he finds a place that he can bathe her. And he has to leave because it's hot out. He has to leave.
So the timing of things, we had a very tight timeline.
He leaves the car running with the dogs in the van and the boys.
Wait, so hold on. You're teaching the class. You're teaching the workshop. I have 90 minutes to get up and out, find a place, turn it around, wash the dog, get back.
Yeah.
Right.
So he pulls up to this dog place.
Well, the first one I pulled up to, it says on Google Maps that they have a thing in there to wash them. They don't.
No.
And I was like, are you kidding? I just wasted 10 minutes coming all the way over here and you don't have what I need.
Yeah. So then he now has to go to the next one, right? So he goes to the next one. He leaves the car running because it's hot out. It's like 90 something degrees. He leaves it running. And the boys are in the passenger seat watching Brad take Gaia into the van. They're not okay with this. The pack is not together. Somehow though, while he's washing Gaia, so she's in this tub.
So
he's
they're in the
back.
van. I'm in the store, but the van's running so that the AC can be blasting.
So
And
somehow
August,
press the window button.
he goes to the driver's seat and shoves his nose, but he steps on the window button and the window goes down. And sure enough,
Jumps out.
2 dogs jump out of the van.
And they go up to the store, which has those doors.
Well, so
open by
before
sensor.
that happened, I'm in the back of the store and I'm washing Gaia, right? She's covered in shit. All of a sudden, up at the front of the store, I hear, oh no, right? And now there's multiple people yelling, oh no. And then this lady's running down the store and she's yelling, hey, sir, I think your dogs just got out of the van. I'm like holding the hose and it's one of those timered things. So like, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to get more of that once I figure this other thing out. So I throw the water that's still coming out. I just throw it. And like, I'm like, Gaia, you stay. And she's looking at me like, how could I possibly go anywhere? Right. And so I'm running out towards the van, right? At the same exact time, the double doors of this big dog store open and both August and Bayonne come running into the store.
Yeah, they run into the store. So thankfully they ran into the store and not like down the street. I don't even know what we would have done.
Yeah.
At
No,
any
I
rate,
was
they were
because
good
it was
boys.
a parking lot. Like there was hundreds of cars. It would have been terrible.
So they ran into the store. So Brad has to get them.
So now I got all 3 dogs in the back in the dog washing area because I'm like, screw it. You guys are with me now. We're just going to all hang out here, finish washing Gaia. I blow dry Gaia down. And they were like, hey, can we get you a leash? Because the leashes were in the van. It wasn't like that, so, and I was like, that would be so helpful. So they helped me get the dogs on a leash. And, we troop out of it and everyone's happy because, the dogs came to be with the pack.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and then I had to zip back just in time for
like,
the end of the workshop so that I could do the raffle.
And I'm like wrapping up this workshop and he's not there. And I'm like, where the fuck is he? Because I don't know what I'm raffling off. Like I had to check people in for this next thing. I had no idea this was going on. Anyways, oh my God. So this tour,
Chaos.
This tour will be not chaotic. Future tours will not be chaotic because we have 1 dog.
Yes. He's very chill.
He's very chill.
Just wants to lay next to you.
Just wants to lay down.
Yep.
He wants to just be there. So I think so this is where we're at. No more shenanigans. Real easy. Roll in, roll out. You guys, we have 2 tours this year. We have a summer tour in the West Coast into Canada. Please tell your friends, come make a trip out of it. We're doing some really cool cities. We're going to places you're going to want to travel to. And obviously East Coast, the South, check our winter tour list. And if you are living anywhere in the world and you want a tour stop, feel free to go to opc.me/host, but opc.me/tour, get tickets for you and your friends.
If you want a tour stop, meaning you would like to host us, go to opc.me/host.
Yes.
If you would like information about the tour itself, go to opc.me/tour.
And all of the classes and workshops are for all levels. So your friends and your family can come. These are not made to be only for teachers. There are CECs for the teachers. And again, our headlining sponsor for these next 2 tours is Balance Body and Contrology. Oh, and now we have a couture kit because we're bringing a reformer, a mat, and a spine corrector. So you guys can try those things out.
Not a chair?
No, we didn't buy the chair.
Oh. I thought we did. Okay.
No, we talked about that.
All right. Failed one. Well, a spine.
I would love another chair, but we discussed that
it is big.
It's
just a lot.
We discussed that it was not the right thing to buy yet until the van's more set up.
Yeah. So anyway, come try out all that fun stuff. So what would you say would be a Be It action item for this episode?
Oh, just go buy a ticket to our upcoming tour because you're going to have the best time. You're going to be in community. If you feel lonely or if you feel burnt out or if you feel exhausted, then you come on this tour and I fill your cup. I prioritize you. I answer your questions. You get to see people you pass as 2 ships. You get to maybe meet up with people you had no idea love Pilates the same way you do. These literally bring people together.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you started Pilates, how many years you've been doing Pilates, if you teach, who trained you, I don't give a fuck. Being in community is the Be It action item. It's important.
Cool. So my Be It action item is when it comes to projects like this, don't be afraid to make changes after you've decided this is how it should work.
Yeah.
Right? Because, for example, if we didn't sell tickets to a spot, why are we driving there?
Yeah.
Right? And that's a bummer and that's frustrating, but you have to be able to be fluid enough to make changes in the moment when something isn't working or isn't making sense, or not necessarily in the moment you have to catch it. You can assess it after the fact and do the postmortem, right? For example, from the summer tour 24 to the winter tour 24, we decided you clearly shouldn't be teaching 9 days in a row. That is not healthy, right? So therefore, we put a hard stop, 6 days maximum. On the way out to Philadelphia, we only taught one stint of 6 days. Everything else was 4 days in a row before we took a day off. On the way back from Philadelphia, same thing. We only had one stint of 6 days because we were making adjustments and making changes. So yeah. But I still agree with you that you should come join us because of community. It is so important, especially now with our virtual world, with loneliness being higher than it's ever been, with social media not helping any of us actually function in our own lives, even though we've been sold this story that somehow it's going to connect us better. It fucking doesn't, and it's just making us lonelier. So what we're trying to do is actually bring together people in real life so that we can support each other and be around each other because we need it. So we would love to meet you. Come join us on these tours.
Yes. All right, loves. Until next time, be it till you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at BeItPod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the epic team at Diseño.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.